Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation.
How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually going to move back inside. I'm on this veranda here in Cabo San Lucas overlooking like Lover's Beach and all that outside our window. It's really beautiful here.
Oh, that sounds amazing right now.
It is. It's really something. Where are you at? What area of the United States?
I am in Minnesota.
Minnesota, cool. Well, there's not a lot of beach there, is there?
Usually just on the lakes, but nowhere near the ocean at all.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But my geography's not that good, but I think I've got that part down. Like I've said, I'm in Mexico, and I'm hoping the connection is okay. You let me know. I do have my ear pods on, the Apple ear pods, and sometimes battery gets low. It might get a little distant or something. Just let me know, and we can start.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's sounding great right now. I mean, there's a little bit of static, but that should be no problem at all. I'm hearing you great, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be able to do this.
Well, I appreciate you calling. Now, what does it say, drummer guy?
That drummer guy, yes.
And are you a drummer?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I am smart, aren't I? What a wild guess. You're great. You have a band there?
I do. Although, over the years, I've been through a lot of different things, and unfortunately haven't been able to get to the recording phases yet, but been able to do a lot of shows and touring and stuff like that. But you know the life of a musician, sometimes things just don't go the way that you want it to. But I'm glad to be able to do what I'm doing with this, being able to help promote the musicians that I really truly care about, talking about some great albums, and just like this, being able to talk about 3.2 and the rules have changed, coming out August 10th through Frontiers Music, and just getting to talk about this fantastic album.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Now, did you get the secured link so you could listen to it?
Yes, I did. I got everything except for what I'm assuming is either a bonus track or the last track on the album, the instrumental on there. I just have 8 tracks that are available. Is that the standard?
That's right. The Japanese got a special instrumental track that I just wanted to do. They asked me for, doing one of the songs acoustically or just a different mix. I thought, yeah, that's not good enough. If it's going to be a bonus track, I want it to be something special. So yes, instrumental. It's a lot of fun, but I guess that's being saved for the Japanese release only.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, and knowing the importing and exporting that it costs to get over to Japan, it's cool to see that they're getting a little extra bonus to be to go along with this album.
Yeah, and you know what? The nice thing about the Japanese market and the people is they still like that CD. They like the booklet. They like the vinyl. They want to have something. They don't want just to have a download. And it puts a lot more value on the music and the musician's income, of course, which is important to all of us. You included, if you did have a band, then you were going to sell your music online even. You want to get paid for it because that's the way you sustain your career, So it's nice that they have that model over there still that kind of helps us make a little income, monetize the huge investment we have to make in recording and even the artwork and everything. It's expensive,
Oh, very much so. And with that, I mean, that's why I'm so honored to even be able to check out a secured link to be able to check out this album, because it's just like with between your playing and between the everyone else that was a part of the creation of the original formation of the band, now with 3.2, it's amazing to see that this album actually did come to fruition, and being able to hear these last arrangements of one of the greatest musicians of our time in progressive music. And it was just great to be able to see your take on what's going on right now in 2017 and now in 2018.
Yeah, it's well, you can imagine how it was for me being in the middle of it after 27 years of Keith not wanting to do another 3 album because he had so much fan criticism at the time. There's a couple things. The reason for that, first of all, we were doing more of an Asia kind of thing. He was playing songs on like half of it, and the rest of it was more progressive. But the ELP fans wanted the long 20-minute pieces. And of course, I wasn't Greg Lake, and they wanted Greg Lake back. And you can't blame them for that. They wanted ELP, but of course our plan all around was to do something new. And the criticism was so hard on Keith that he just wanted to leave it behind. Then this album, the Live in Boston, came out, 2015, I think it was. And when he listened to it, he called me and he couldn't believe how good we were. He had really left it behind. He just didn't want the criticism and didn't want to think about 3 again. And I couldn't believe when he called me and said, wow, we were such a good band. I can't believe it. I'm listening to it tonight. We were really good. And we talked about it a bunch. And it rekindled that spark and the flame of possibility to do this 3.2, the second version of 3, or the follow-up 3 album. And which, of course, for me, you can imagine, when 30 years ago, when I was with Keith and Carl, I just had a local band. And all of a sudden, here I am in London working with Keith Emerson and Carl Palmer. It was really a thrill. So, yeah, to get it to happen again was really something special.
So, with that, I mean... of course, it alluded to a little bit, but how did this really come together to be able to form 3.2?
Really, it came together from that Live in Boston CD. Keith was sitting at home like he liked to do, having a glass of wine and listening to music in Santa Monica, California, his condo there, and he just couldn't believe the energy. He told me it was, we had open-end arrangements. We could jam. They could change every night. It wasn't as structured as ELP, although we still had our songs we had to play, the hooks, the choruses, whatever it was, singing-wise. But he felt the life in it, and he was just sort of amazed that we were that good. Now, I always thought we were really good, and the people that saw us live thought it was a great band. But again, the criticism that Keith got from ELP fans was pretty harsh and heavy, even to the point of criticizing that we had 2 female background singers. They just didn't get it that 3 was fun. We were having fun. It was supposed to be fun. It sounded fun. It was something that the whole crowd, when they saw us live, got involved in. But, I pretty much explained it, I think. It was just a criticism that stopped it from having a second album in, what would that be? In 1989, it would have been, right?
Yeah.
So... But now, with the release of that live album, he was just thrilled to death. And I sheepishly asked when he called me that night to tell me he was just so excited how good we were. And I said, well, Keith, what would you think about doing a second one? And, of course, he didn't really sheepishly say it, but calmly he said, well, maybe. And for me, that was the open door to call the record company Frontiers, who have been bugging me for years. We want a second 3 album. Can you do it? Can you do it? Initially, I was speaking to Carl about it, and there was a possibility Carl and I were going to do something, but it just never happened. And I figured Keith would never want to do it. But once he gave me that call, really talking to the record company, getting our budget, getting an artistic control of whatever we wanted it to be, we had one requirement from Frontiers. We want a second 3 album. They didn't want ELP. They didn't want Asia. They didn't want my solo stuff, Keith's solo stuff. They wanted it to follow in the footsteps of what we had done. And, of course, Keith was a huge part of that sound, and I was a huge part of the writing. So we really had the important 2 pieces to start working on this and writing and make it happen.
Wow, and that's just so incredible to hear that, too. I mean, sometimes it does take years in the making, but it's great to see that he was able to call you up and just talk about the live release and being able to relive those days, and despite any fan criticism, being able to look back from his own playing and being able to enjoy what you 3 did together. Yeah,
it was, you can imagine how I felt. I was pretty excited. And his playing was incredible. And... we had done quite a few things over the years together. I was initially in the Keith Emerson band for about a week, and that wasn't really the right thing for me. I felt that was more of a tribute kind of thing. It really wasn't kind of worthy of Keith. He should be doing new stuff. He should be back in England working with these incredible musicians that are over there. And, he played in a Tempest album, which is a band I produced, Celtic rock band, really good band. He did some keyboards for that. He did a few things for Magna Carta, this record label. We just stayed in touch and kept working together. He actually worked on the first solo album after 3 at my studio Soundtech for about a week. And, just different things over the years. And we'd talk once in a while just on the phone, and he always had a corny joke or something that people that knew him were expecting something like that to happen, because he was a funny guy. But this phone call, that was, for me, in my career and what I've done, my most famous, my biggest success, the coolest guy, the friendliest guy, the sweetest guy you ever met, that phone call meant everything to me. That he was sort of validating what we had done, where a lot of the fans had. Like Keith left it behind. Carl even said, I'm surprised he's going to do this with you. And I said, he called me. He's excited. I said, we're going for it.
Oh, and that's, again, it's just, that's so cool to hear that. I mean, I love that first album so much, and I always just thought it was going to be one of those underrated albums that really didn't get the appreciation it deserved, much like you were talking about, just like from that initial fan criticism, but, over the length of time being able to really discover it and, just getting past that backlash of it not being ELP and just being able to really appreciate it for what it is. And that's why I'm so gracious being able to check out what's going on here with 3.2. I mean, just being able to see how everything was being able to be updated, to see what Keith had in mind for his arrangements, how you were going about things with the songwriting, and just seeing everything that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's really pretty interesting. Initially, I, of course, lived in London and would go down to Keith's house for rehearsals, and I spent a lot of time with his family. He had a studio in his barn with all these old Korg instruments and everything he had ever played, the GX1 keyboard, the Moog, I mean, everything was there. And we'd rehearse, and when I think back, it wasn't that much different than how we did the new album. Even though we spoke on the phone all the time, he had a keyboard in his room, I had a keyboard in front of my Pro Tools. We'd be talking about arrangements, talking about parts, little ideas, whatever it was, it would just come out of us, and they were great conversations. I can't even tell you how great it was, even though it was on the phone, to get this album started that way. But in the old days, let's say, in 1987, we'd be in the barn, and I go, well, Keith, here's a song of mine, Lover to Lover. I play it for him. He'd go, oh, that has possibilities. We'd go home. I'd go to London. Come back the next day. Keith had been up all night, probably to 4 in the morning. And he goes, let me play you something. And he had this 8-track, half-inch, or 1-inch 8-track tape recorder that he did all this stuff on. And he would play it. And this happened to so many songs. Even Desi La Vida, he played new stuff in the next morning. But I remember Lover to Lover, and he had this whole new middle section and this modulation thing and the solo, and I went, oh my God, that's the song I played you yesterday? He goes, yeah, what do you think? I said, I mean, that's incredible. I was speechless at what he did. I also made one mistake back then. His playing is so, as you know, he's the best. There's nobody like him. But there's a thing called a sequencer you can put a keyboard part into in MIDI, and you can auto-correct the timing so it's just perfect. And it's, it just sails through like no little fluctuation. And I said, well, Keith, that's amazing. It sounds so good. What kind of sequencer did you use? And of course, he looked at me and goes, sequencer? He goes, I played that. What are you talking about? I thought, I was kind of new to working with Keith Emerson. I mean, I watched ELP. I was a fan of ELP, but I mean, we were just starting to work on the songs, and I hadn't realized the extent of the genius of Keith Emerson. I mean, this guy, we'd be having dinner at his house, and with his mom and his wife and his kids, and he'd disappear, and after 10 minutes, go, well, where's Keith? And his mom would say, well, check the other room, and I'd go into the next room. He's sitting in front of the fireplace with a little Korg keyboard, practicing stuff with the keyboard backwards. I mean, could you imagine having your iPad or your computer backwards and typing even a few words? It'd be very hard to do,
Oh, yes.
And he'd be practicing the songs with the keyboard backwards. I go, what the hell is going on here? He was so dedicated, such an incredible player, that the level that I saw being inside of the Emerson world, let's say, was even beyond anything I imagined. He was total dedicated, total professional, but he loved every minute of what he did.
And with that, I mean, what was it like for you to start to hear some brand new arrangements from Keith when you started working on 3.2?
Now, I'm getting that underwater sound from you. Are you getting that from me?
No, you were coming in clear as day.
Okay. What was interesting is we had one song on a cassette tape from 1987 that it was too straight of a song. I had a few straighter rock songs we were trying to make into, 3 songs like Runaway, Do or Don't. And I thought, gee, that's enough of those. Geffen had developed me as a solo artist. They want to be this new Bryan Adams Sting kind of combination. So I had these straight rock songs. They wanted to have them on the album. And Keith did his best to make them a little more three-worthy, but they were still kind of straight rock songs. And this song of his was just too straight, so I didn't really want to write lyrics and melody. I thought we didn't need any more of that. We needed a little more, what at the time in my mind was more like Asia kind of stuff, a little bit of progressive along with the rock song kind of combination. But these days, when he brought it, and I had this cassette of it, and he had a cassette of it, we both said this would be great on the new album. So I started to work on lyrics and a melody for that. That was pure Emerson music. We talked about a few things which I added in later. I had some digital files he sent me of newer stuff that were very high quality. I got to tell you, even the cassette from back then, with the way he recorded things on his 8-track, a cassette copy, a high resolution, they didn't even have that term then, but let's say a high quality cassette really sounded good, better than an MP3. So I had this great set of keyboard tracks for that song that Keith had given me to write the lyrics and the melody that I didn't want to do. And then I had these new digital files he had sent me of all this stuff. I mean, I got so many songs. None of them really complete as a song that we could use on the album, but full of all these little Emerson gems, you know, intros, connection bits, that the parts that he was really, really good at. And, you know, complicated, yet very musical and, I don't know, tone-wise and instrument-wise that he is really great sounding. So I had those. And then, of course, we had the dueling pianos. I'm sorry, you know, I got a call from the keyboard player from the Tubes right in the middle of our conversation, and it shut us down. I'm surprised. Sorry about that.
Oh, not a problem.
Anyway, the digital files were just high-quality stuff, playing all kinds of little bits that I found incredibly inspiring. And, oh, jeez. Are you still hearing me, Josh?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this guy's calling again, and I'm going to have to tell him to leave me alone right now. We're talking. Anyway, good stuff from Keith. The piano session, the dueling piano sessions were really something. He would play something. I'd try to copy it, of course. I play keyboards. I started as a keyboard player, but I'm no Keith Emerson, so I'd play like a slow version of what he played me, and he goes, well, you're missing a few notes, blah, blah, blah. He'd plink them out on the piano, you know, and I'd try to get it. He'd go, yeah, that's better. All I really needed from those was a placeholder, but I wanted to get all I could from him. So he sort of mentored me in these new parts that we were talking about that would work in songs. And that was pretty cool, I got to say. Now at this point in time when we've lost Keith and I'll never get those phone calls again, I look back on those sort of with amazement, you know, that in my lifetime, the guy that I worship the most as the greatest keyboard player in the world that I had a top 10 song with, we had these funny phone calls where we were playing piano back and forth, and I was actually had the gall to play piano as he played it and try to figure out what he was playing. I mean, it just makes me kind of laugh and go, really? You know? And that was before, of course, I had to try to recreate that stuff on the album. That's when I really had to buckle down, and I got to tell you, what I had to do, practicing-wise, and I mean, I had 8 years of classical piano. I'm 2 years of jazz. I majored in music in college. I can play, but I had sort of left the proper fingering. Like you play drums, it'd be like the paradiddles and all the stuff, you know, you learn in drum lessons. And, you know, to pass my final exams in college, I had to do all those drumming things. Mm-hmm. I had to know paradiddles and play military grip, where I'm a straight grip kind of guy, you know. I had to do all that. But this piano stuff was hard, keyboard stuff.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely imagine. And, you know, there is only one Keith Emerson that we're ever gonna have, so, you know, it's just like when you have his style of what he was able to accomplish on the keyboards, and, you know, just being able to try to recreate that, so, you know, to get it into the full production and everything. I mean, you did a magnificent job of being able to recreate what his arrangements of what was going on there. I mean, it's just, I love the fact that you were able to accomplish all that.
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of people say they feel him in the music, and of course, I had him on 20% of the whole album before he died. I mean, I had his playing, and in a way, he gave me piano lessons over the phone, you know, or back in 87, 88 when we toured, I actually played keyboards on stage with him in certain songs. He wasn't thrilled about it, but 3 had a bunch of layers and stuff where there's certain things I had to do. Bass pedals, synth parts, different things. I played a little violin thing and Hoedown, the intro. There was things I had to do, and just like with our guitar player, Keith had a standard and things that he wanted to happen, and that guitar player had to match him. Paul Keller, very good friend of mine, fantastic guitar player. He had to match all those Emerson riffs. He said, I want you to do harmony on this. Oh my God, I could never remember all that, and Paul's just got it. He had it. He was so on it with Keith, But Keith's not demanding, but his standard is very high. You either step up to that standard or you can step out, There's no question that you have to be able to keep up. And he really mentored me on the keyboard stuff because I started as a keyboard player, so I was really interested in how he played, what he played, never thinking about having to play his parts ever. I mean, I that wasn't in my thinking. I just enjoyed the musicologist I am, I guess, that here's this guy, and besides what we have going, I get to study him and watch him. There he's playing that thing backwards again. How does he do that? Or look at how is he doing that? He's got the left hand going. It's like a whole different person on that keyboard over there because the right hand's doing this. How does he do that? He's like 2 people. Complete independence. If he had a third hand, it'd be doing something different, probably playing the drums.
Yeah, and that's just what I love so much about his playing. I mean, whether it was listening to the albums that he's been a part of, or watching random video clips that I've seen of him playing and stuff like that. It's just being able to see the proficiency of what he's doing, even with these jaw-dropping ideas that he's had. And it's again just bringing it back into what you were able to accomplish, being able to finish off his arrangements and his ideas for the 3.2 album. It's great to see that you were able to learn so much from him and be able to really carry that spirit of his playing.
He really inspired me in a lot of ways. And like I said, I'm capable. That being capable isn't really the problem, though. There's a lot of people that can really play. It's the ideas and the writing. And my most important part of this was, of course, I'm the singer-songwriter. I write the lyric and the melodies and, let's say, the choruses, of the songs. And I had to glue those pieces together because we really had mostly Emerson pieces. And on 5 songs, and of course, then there were the other 3 that I wrote on my own, which is sort of the way the first 3 albums was. And my biggest part was to glue it together, and to do that, I had to pay a lot of attention to what would Keith do here, how would he have interpreted my song, how would he have wanted to glue like a key change, an intro, a solo section. And those are things that I feel anyway. I could be way off base, but for me, I'm kind of the only one that knew now what 3 was all about, what 3 was capable of in the future, what we had discussed that we wanted to be. And I was the only one left that could do it. Carl wasn't involved in any of the new stuff at all. But then again, from the first 3 album, I played drums. I played drums every day in my studio for clients. And I learned a lot from Carl. I'll tell you, that guy is a dynamo. He, not only drum-wise, I could never play that solo stuff and some of those incredible things he does, but style-wise and stuff, I realized, Carl plays with the melody a lot. He's not just playing a straight beat. He's playing these parts that actually kind of accentuate little things that happen melodically and structure-wise. And that influenced me, too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and that's what I've loved so much about Carl's playing as well. I mean, you said it perfectly. I mean, he's able to play along with the melody and really not just play a straight beat, but really emphasize major parts of the song, like whether it be just quick little melodies that are going on or just like the full rhythms of the songs, like being able to accentuate those parts. And I've always loved that about his playing. And it's great to be able to see that influence that you were able to take from Carl as well for this album as well, because like I hear a lot of his kind of nuances in your playing on this album.
Well, and part of what Keith and I wanted to do was have a stronger, a solider rhythm, a more driving thing. So that was one of the updated things between the special pieces, with the drums on, let's say, melodic segments, there was a strong pulse on the rest of it. And same thing as on the keyboards. They wanted it to be almost tougher. Half the original 3 album was kind of tough, and half it was kind of light. So we wanted to remain a little tougher all the way around on this. And yeah, it was. I got to tell you, I don't know where it all came from, but as I was doing it and finishing it up, came out. I guess from 27 years of wanting it to happen, I never let go of that dream, and I never let go of that style. I've done a lot of other things since then, and my straighter rock style, even with Ambrosia, a little progressive and some very R&B kind of pop stuff. But I never let go of that dream of doing a second 3 album. And I would always tell people, are you going to do another progressive album? I said, well, I feel like I have one more really good album in me, but I just haven't had the reason or the want to do it yet. I sort of call it my Sgt. Pepper's, and I'm going to save it for the right time. And all of a sudden it came along. I'm sorry about that. Mexico,
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad we were able to continue on with this. Even though I felt like it could have ended in a good spot, I mean, it'd be nice to get a little more in there, and I'm glad we were able to still make this work.
Okay. So that last question I couldn't understand, so why don't you ask me again?
Oh, sure. I was saying, now with the album finally coming out August 10th through Frontiers Music, when you go back and listen to it now, how does it feel to finally have this album completed, and now knowing that fans, be it since the first album or checking out this incarnation of a band with yourself and Keith Emerson, how does it feel to look back on this album now?
I'll start by saying, first of all, I'm really proud of it. It turned out exactly the way that I was hoping it would, and I believe the way Keith was hoping it would, although, of course, he would have developed a few different things that are on there, because he would have played the solos and whatever, and there might have been some different sounds. Who knows where he would have been at the final recording. But I have to say, when I listen to it, it's almost like it's not me. I don't feel like I played those instruments, and I struggled for a year sitting there saying, okay, in the terms of what 3 was and what I want it to be now and what Keith wants it to be now and what we had talked about and what we had arranged and written, I mean, what would Keith say here? What would I do here? I spent a year struggling with that, not even knowing if I was going to release it or not, because at first, for the first 9 months after Keith's death, or 6 months, I guess I should say, I wasn't going to continue working on it. There's no good reason, I said to myself, for me to do this without Keith. If I put it out, who would care? Why? And then I had an idea that Aaron Emerson, his son, plays keyboards. I wonder if Aaron would do it with me. That would be the perfect tribute to his dad. A wonderful experience for the both of us. I called up Aaron. He said, well, I'd be interested in that. Send me a song. And that was my first mistake. I sent him a really hard one. So why did I do that? I sent him a song called One by One, which has an incredible piano intro on it. And he got back to me and goes, oh, no, this is way too hard for me. He goes, that's my dad's music. I don't play like that. And so he didn't really want to do it. He thought it was beyond his capabilities, and I understood that. But that started getting me excited again to do it. I thought, well, gee, I started getting into the songs, thinking, there's so much good stuff here. Then I had to come to terms with, who could I get to do this? Well, nobody knew what we talked about. It was my style, Keith's style. There was the original 3 and Carl's style, and I was really the only one that had stayed, let's say, current with it and knew what it should be and what it was, and was in the middle of the lion's den when it all happened. So I thought the really only way for me to do this was to do it myself. And the other thing, which I've talked about before, was Keith had always said he wanted to call the album One, and he'd say not O-N-E spelled out one, but just the number 1. And I didn't want to call it One, but I didn't want to discuss that then. I figured, look, we're going to do this album. We'll discuss album titles as it goes along. But there was a Beatles album called One. There's a bunch of things called One. And I thought, man, that'd be confusing to have an album called One by 3.2. Just too many numbers, and it adds up to 5. 5 means nothing. So we didn't discuss it then, but at the time I was trying to figure out if I really felt like I could do this. It kept coming back to, Keith wanted to call it One. I said, I'm going to finish this as One, just me. knowing all the working parameters that were going to go into it, and capable again of doing it, but still questioning myself every inch of the way of what would they do, what would Keith do, how would we do this, you know. It was a struggle for a year. At times I thought, I can't continue. I can't do this. It just doesn't feel right, or I'm not getting what I know Keith would have wanted. And like there's a song called This Letter, that's mostly acoustic guitar, but the end is all keyboards, just bombastic stuff going on. And I couldn't get that right. I could never make it sound the way that I thought Keith would have done it, although he had never heard that song. That's one that I wrote right before he died. I had it done. I was going to send it to him and tell him my thoughts about it. He never got to hear it. But the third attempt for the ending, I finally got it going because I didn't have any Moog on it, and Keith was big on the Moog, and I didn't have this synth stuff on there. And all of a sudden it came together. So for that whole year, I was really working hard, and I guess that's why now I listen to it. It's like I wasn't even there. I go, wow, I can listen to this as a body of music and enjoy it. As an engineer, I got the best tone qualities that I could get, from the highest highs to the lowest lows. I want it to be rich and warm and sound as analog as possible, even though we're recording on the highest end Pro Tools you can buy. In fact, I redid everything in my studio for waiting for Keith to come in for us to record. I got the latest Pro Tools. I bought a $10,000 Telefunken microphone for the vocals. It's just a great microphone. I had the Moog all rebuilt. The guitars all worked on, amplifier, this great high watt I have, everything was pristine and just ready to be the best it could be. Because I thought, of course, we'd get the album done and everybody's going to want to talk to us about how we did it, the recording magazines, the equipment people, and I wanted it to be the best that I could ever do. So I don't know if I've answered the question, but it's still pretty exciting for me to think back on the whole thing and the effort and all that went into it, and then just sit back and be able to listen to it like I wasn't even there. It's crazy.
And I love hearing that too. I mean, you know, despite the circumstances of everything that happened with it, I mean, I'm so happy that you were able to want to be able to complete this album, make sure that these arrangements that Keith originally had set out for 3.2, and being able to, you know, just like hear his spirits in the album amongst everything that you were able to complete with this album, not just in the studio, but behind the studio as well. You know, just all the production and engineering that went into it, redoing the studio, all those instruments, and being able to invest so much into this album and everything that you got going on in the future if you use that equipment as well, and just seeing everything that's come with it. I mean, it's just like, at least from this humble fan, I really love everything that turned out with this album.
Well, I appreciate that, and that really validates all the things I did really for myself, you know, the equipment and working for a year, just whittling away, trying to make it. I mean, I did that for me, first of all, and that's also why when it was done, I'm thinking, I don't know if I did this to release it. I'm not sure that anybody's going to accept this, you know, what I've done. And I checked it with a few people, one being Serafino at Frontiers Records, the president, and who has been a huge supporter of mine and will be brutally honest with me. And he said, well, he said genius, which I don't consider myself genius, but he loved it. And I checked it with one person I know that's a huge ELP fan, and I just sent him a couple songs. I said, am I doing the right thing? And Rolf Remlinger, who runs the 3 Facebook site, he just loved it and said, I can feel Keith in it. It's there. You've done it the right way. You need to release this. And that's sort of all the encouragement I needed. I also honestly set myself up for a lot of criticism, because I thought, you know, people are they're gonna say, who the hell does this guy think he is? And the cool thing for me was, the minute the first pre-release song came out, Somebody's Watching, the response was amazing. That people, almost everybody in MC said, we can feel Keith in the music. We love this. We've been waiting for this sound. We love this sound. We thought it was lost forever. I can't even tell you how that made me feel. Now, I'm ready for criticism. I can accept that. Not everybody's going to love it, especially the hard rock fans. The video, Powerful Man, was released on a hard rock website, first of all, and there was a lot of criticism because the videos has animals in it. It has things about, sons and fathers and all that. Of course, they wanted to see skeletons and blood and death, and all that. So they didn't particularly like the video. But once it got out to the musical fans, the more progressive rock fans, and the people that, even some of the pop people that like my Ambrosia days and stuff, they really responded to that video. I can't even tell how happy it makes me that it seems like what flowed through me as a musician is connecting to the listeners. And what you said was just tremendous. I thank you for that review. That's really something.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean it straight from the heart, too. It's just like, as a longtime prog fan, just being able to appreciate so many different styles of music that's going on there, and that's exactly what I hear with 3.2. I mean, obviously, there's going to be the nods to the original incarnation of 3, but I also hear so much new influence that's going on there, too. I mean, there's some really cool, heavier moments that's going on through this album. The acoustic moments are just so great and heartfelt that's going on there, and of course, that great 3 combination, that harkens back to the first album, but is still able to stand out on its own. It's just, I really love everything that's came out with this, and just like I've said many times, I'm just so happy that this did get a release. I'm so happy to see that, for the most part, people really are appreciating the music for what it is, and it's so great that despite it all, that you were able to get this out there for everyone to enjoy.
Well, I appreciate that. That means, honestly, it means a lot to me. I don't know what to think about how people are responding and everything. It's really something, but I will tell you, it has empowered me to do a tour next year that I have never done since 3 in a progressive format. Keith and I both hated the progressive rock title kind of. It's really being more musical, I think, is the thing. It's orchestrated. It has depth. It's not just a straight verse chorus kind of thing. That's what progressive rock's all about, being musical. And I've never been able to tour my history in that. And the idea right now is that there's going to be a world tour next year from South America to Russia of my history in progressive rock, which of course starts with 3 and does, my Magna Carta catalog. I don't know if you've heard Roundabout that I did for them. And Minstrel in the Gallery. We're going to do that. We're going to do an Ambrosia tune, progressive Ambrosia tune, a 3-song chorus, 3.2, and I had an album, Pilgrimage to a Point, that had some stuff on it that was never used for the second 3 album and the second GTR album. And people know most of this material, so almost for me, it's like a greatest hits tour. It's going to be interesting because they're going to know everything we play, and I'm really excited about it. That's sort of being talked about and trying to be set up right now in the right venues, and it's going to be incredible.
Oh, that just makes me so happy to hear that, because I was going to ask if there was going to be any kind of like a live promotion, even if it was just like playing the album in its entirety through CD or MP3, like kind of live shows like that or something like that. But the fact that you're actually going out there and showing off your prog work next year, I'm so happy to see that's going to be coming to fruition.
That is the plan, and like I say, they're working on setting that up now. If it happens or not, nothing is solidly booked, but there's a lot of interest, and it's a one-time only thing. This can only happen one time, that we have Keith Emerson's last effort and my first tour of all this. It's sort of a magic combination of something I think would be not only a lot of fun, but really rewarding for me, and hopefully I'd be able to meet all these people that have been so supportive of me, which is amazing in this musical career. I play with Greg Kinn. I tour all the time with him. We do rock shows and we do acoustic shows together. But this is my people, let's say. The people that share this musical thing of more depth in the music and the tone quality and all the keyboards and guys like you that know what a DW drum set is, and when I have a dry ride on a certain song, or a big old Peisty crash I borrow from David Lauser from Sammy Hagar's band on a certain thing, 20-inch crash I just love. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
They're music fans,
Yeah, absolutely. And, just being able to celebrate that style of music, too, just like really being able to appreciate the instruments, just like you were talking about. I mean, be it the drums, be it the keyboards, be it the guitars, yeah, be it the microphones, just being able
Yeah.
to celebrate being a musician and being able to show off all these different sides of your progressive playing.
It's going to be something. It's not going to be easy. I'll tell you that. It's going to be difficult, but I'm up for the challenge. And Josh, I have so many interviews today that I've enjoyed speaking with you, but I'm probably going to have to sign off here just so I can brush my teeth and get, cleanse my mouth for the next one.
Oh, yeah, I was
cleanse
just...
the palate. It's like wine.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that was a great note to end on, knowing that you're going to be going out there next year, hopefully if everything goes the right way, and being able to celebrate this progressive side of your playing. And, despite any of the technical issues that's happened either on my end or your end or just the internet in general, I thank you so much for taking the time to be able to talk to me about everything you got going on right now. And, of course, talking about the brand new album from 3.2, The Rules Have Changed, coming out August 10th through Frontiers Music. I absolutely love this album. It's easily going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, and dealing with depression myself for so much of my life, it's so amazing to be able to hear Keith's final arrangements on an album and what you were able to do with it, and just hearing his spirit throughout the album, what you were able to do with it, and hopefully next year, just whether it's YouTube clips or myself being able to see this live or whatever the case is, just the fact that you're able to keep that spirit alive, and I thank you so much for that.
Well, I appreciate your time. I am sorry to hear about the depression, but it sounds to me like you're a pretty positive guy. You're very upbeat, and you found something you really love to do, and that helps a lot in life in general. And, a lot of the songs, the lyrics are about being positive and everything. So I'm glad that you're doing well, and I thank you, and I hope to speak to you again.